Hello and welcome to today's 10 at 10, which is available for everyone. So please join in. And what we're going to be covering today is essentially a follow on a little bit from what we've covered yesterday. So yesterday we looked at suppliers and how to refine these contracts. But today we're looking at really quick wins within travel and subsistence. Now, travel and subsistence in itself is a really hot area for generating profit, for generating cash. Just depends on how you manage it. So the first thing we're going to do, and a really nice solution to generating instant profit in your business, is to look at our travel costs and whether or not we can reduce them. So if you're one of these people who perhaps travels several hundred miles in a month, could you perhaps do more rather than client-facing meetings? Could you perhaps do Skype meetings, Zoom meetings, anything along those lines? Now, the important one here is we're not just talking about saving on physical fuel or mileage, etc. We're also talking about whether or not you can save time. So just remember, if you're traveling to meet your clients, but you could actually do it virtually, you can save yourself quite a substantial amount of time in the way of travel. Now, remember, travel in itself is usually dead time. It's usually hours lost. If you're traveling, say, 50 or 60 miles, that's an hour of which you could perhaps be selling, or you could be generating income in itself. So consider the dead time when we're looking to travel. As well as that, we've also got the costs of mileage involved if you're claiming for mileage. If you're not claiming for mileage, please do claim for it if you are doing the travel and it's unavoidable. Because, simply put, if you have the mileage claim in, it's cash in your pocket. And actually, it's a really efficient, because it's tax-free, really efficient way of getting cash out of the business. So from a business perspective, you can reduce your profit just a little bit, save on corporation tax, but increase your own profitability by generating cash. And mileage is so tax efficient. Put it this way, if you travel 200 odd miles in a month and you're claiming at 45 pence in a mile, you can easily generate about £100 in your pocket, tax-free, which is actually more than you would have spent on fuel. Because remember, when you're claiming for mileage, you are claiming for the wear and tear on the vehicle, the insurances, etc., as well as the fuel. So really, really good one here is if you can't reduce them, at least claim for them. Okay, so claim for your mileage. Definitely want to get all of that income into your pocket, and alternatively travel less if you can. Now, from experiences and what I do find is actually sometimes when you're on site with a client or you're traveling out and about, I sometimes find that actually a remote meeting is a really efficient way to get both parties focused. And actually what you can find is not only have you saved on physically traveling there and saved on time in that sense, you've actually saved on the time of the meeting as well. Really, really cool part. If you're visiting someone on site, they can easily get distracted by the goings on of their business. A meeting which could take an hour actually takes 2, 3, 4 hours, however long it takes. But the reality is, over Skype, you might be able to do it in an hour. So really worth considering saving your time on the physical travel and saving your time in the meeting. So really, 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 really key one there. There's so many aspects in travel you can actually save on. So well worth reviewing your travel costs and seeing if you can save on the profit there. Instant wins available. Now, following on from actual travel, we get into not a little bit of a soft spot, but this is one that some people find easier than others. And the next one is to look on saving on subsistence costs, by which I mean, is it perhaps worth sacrificing the odd coffee here and there that you perhaps don't need, but just like? And the reason I say this is a soft spot is because some people find this easier than others. And the reality is, I'm not saying give up every single coffee, but do you perhaps need quite as many traveling as you would do otherwise? If you have 40 coffees at £2.50 a month, depending on how big your team is, you can easily spend £100 a month on coffees. And if you think about it, it's just cost to your business, it's just profit. And actually subsistence is always cash-based as well. Instant cash, instant profit, which you're sacrificing, which you perhaps don't need to. Should you perhaps be sacrificing the luxury rather than sacrificing the profit? So you can make subtle changes here rather than just saying, I'm just going to starve myself, deprive myself all day. We're not saying do that, but we're saying, could you perhaps look for a slightly more efficient option? perhaps rather than a £2.50 or coffee, you could just get, say, a bottle of water or a Pepsi or something a little bit more cost efficient, because actually it adds up quite a lot over the time of a month, depending how much travel and subsistence you actually incur. Also, as well as on drinks, there is, of course, lunches. So eating out, lunches can be quite expensive on the road, service stations, traveling out and about. They can add up quite quickly. And the reality is it's quite easy to spend, say, £5 on a lunch. It does happen. It's very easily done. It's very enjoyably done, I might add. But the reality of the situation is, could you actually be shopping around for more efficient options? Say, was it worth taking a meal deal with you, saving yourself just a little bit of money? Should you be taking a packed lunch maybe? Maybe take a coffee with you. Now, I'm not saying give up subsistence entirely, because there's sort of, there's a lot of different areas in this. It's, can you reduce it just a little bit? I'm not saying give it up completely. It's harder to do that than it sounds. But actually, it's really good because you could potentially kick off a healthy eating plan by making these little changes here and there. Healthy for you, healthy for the business. You generate more profit, you save on the cash. And remember, if you're looking for profit in your business, these are really, really quick wins. Now, another little part on subsistence, and we see a lot of clients who, they don't make this mistake, but it's just something that they lose. It's not a mistake, it's just something they lose out on. If you're VAT registered, remember that you can claim for the VAT on your subsistence. So please make sure to keep your receipts for your subsistence when out and about. Really important one here is basically when you pay for something with subsistence, you get two little receipts. You get one which confirms you've made the payment on your debit card, credit card, whatever you've made. And you get another one which confirms the value of the order, the VAT number, and of course, any VAT amounts. Now, the receipt you want to keep is the one I mentioned second, the physical receipt, which says how much VAT, what's the VAT number, what did you buy? The actual receipt for the credit card and the debit card doesn't actually make you eligible to claim VAT on your subsistence. So really key part there, because we see it a lot in clients. They claim the wrong receipt, they lose out on the VAT. It's extra cost in their business because it's lost VAT. It's essentially just like giving money to HMRC. At the end of the day, you can claim that back. Make sure you're claiming it back. It really does add up. So what I would do is make sure that you review any VAT leaks in your subsistence wherever possible. If you have a sales team, you may have some staff members who are perhaps a little bit more guilty of this than others. So it's just worth considering, making sure everyone's on the same page, making sure everyone's collecting VAT receipts, and making sure you actually claim for those, because it really does add up very, very quickly. Now, actually, I've just seen that Lisa's made a comment as well, and this follows on a little bit from what I mentioned earlier. And basically, make sure that when you're traveling, when you're incurring subsistence costs, make sure that whenever you do, it's for the right reasons, it's efficient. Don't just want to travel for the sake of travel. You don't just want to incur subsistence costs for the sake of subsistence costs. And if you're going to have an on-site meeting, make sure it's as efficient as possible. Your time is best used making sales and profit generating, rather than just incurring the cost of, say, perhaps sacrificing an extra few hours, which you perhaps didn't need to. Now, I also see that giving up on the coffee might be harder work for some than others. And yes, Lisa, in fact, would probably be one of the guilty parties on this one. And if I said save on subsistence costs for you and said give up your beloved coffees, she'd probably tell me I was being absolutely insane and not to suggest such a daft idea. But the reality is it does add up. Now, it depends, of course, on volume. If you have lots of volume in subsistence, there's massive savings here. If you don't have as much volume, it's probably not so bad, but just always remind yourself, is the money better off in your pocket? Now, really important part here, if you save on profit in your business and you save on the cash, you can generate that profit, that cash, and that can go to your pocket, providing you make these little changes here and there. So really, really worth considering saving on travel, saving on subsistence. It can make a massive difference. Now, I will say thank you for joining us today. And if you are a member of the BBB Club, please log in and take a deeper dive into today's topic. We, of course, have various aspects of profit hacks, and there will be several more days worth. So please join us on the next few days, and we will shortcut our way to the remaining monthly 1K. Thank you very much for listening, everyone, and we'll hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye.